At the end of January 2014, the peaceful protests at Maidan Zheznevski turned deadly when snipers fired on those assembled. On January 16th, pro-Yanukovych MPs and factions of the Communists and the Party of Regions adopted bills restricting people's constitutional rights to peaceful assembly and gave the authorities the freedom to punish protesters. The vote for these laws violated regulations without discussion or the use of the electronic system in the Ukrainian parliament.
Прошу народних депутатів, які за, підняти руки.
235 за.
3 days later, activists tried to go to the Verkhovna Rada along Hrushevskoho Street. Security forces and the Berkut Special Police blocked them as they approached the Dynamo Stadium. After the activists' requests to pass through to the parliament building were rebuffed, the peaceful protests became violent. Belarusian citizen Mikhail Zheznevski was among activists trying to prevent clashes between the law enforcement and the Euromaidan activists. He was such a good guy, a little bit mischievous. Of course, he was always a reliable person. One time he brought a police uniform. It was heavy and inconvenient, but he wore it anyways. He was rather big and strong. He showed me a screenshot on his telephone that he was a wanted person in Interpol. Then he admitted that he was eventually taken off the list, but he was proud of it. A few meters left of the House of Trade Unions near Lyadisky Gate lived Serhii Nihoian, Armenian-born, but he lived in the Dnipropetrovsk region.
Well-known Maidan activist Vladimir Bezrukov saw Serhii in a crowd and proposed to draw his portrait. Serhii was a peaceful person. He was calm and tried to avoid conflicts or quarrels. He was Armenian, but his beautiful Ukrainian made me wonder how beautifully he would read poetry.
And glory be to you, blue mountains covered with ice, and to you, great knights. God has not forgotten you. Fight, and you shall overcome. The will is holy.
He was not one of the people who came to Hrushevsky Street to throw Molotov cocktails. He watched clips about how protesters burned tires. He just wanted to make a lot of smoke to cover the activists.
The peak of confrontation with the law enforcers took place during the night of January 21st to 22nd. The Berkut Special Police Force was trying to shut down the protest. Behind my back is the entrance to the Academy of National Sciences. 4 years ago, there was a medical center here, organized by doctors and volunteers who came from all over Ukraine. Now, only graffiti remains as a reminder.
It was a terrible night. We were treated with gunshot wounds inflicted with plastic and rubber bullets, with mine explosive wounds, burns, with contusions from light and noise grenades, frostbite, carbon monoxide poisoning, and law enforcers even sprayed with streams of cold water.
About 5 in the morning, a man fell by the barricade near the Dynamo Stadium. It is impossible to name the exact place, since the protesters immediately carried him away from the battlefield. Only later did it become known that this was the 20-year-old Serhii Nihoian.
When he was brought back, that was the moment that the Tushki Ibrakuti began to act. They went into full attack and began to disperse protesters. We got to work in the first aid post. They called an operative investigative team led by forensic experts and recorded the first death.
A few hours later, near the row of burned buses where cars were driving briskly, a second man fell. It was Mikhail Zheznevski.
The counterattack began. The protesters drove the Berkut back to their original positions.
The first death, Nihoian, was noted by a bullet penetrating into the cervical region and into the heart. When he was brought in, he was in a state of near death and agony. Mikhail Zheznevski also had 2 bullet wounds.
Serhii Nihoian was wounded 4 times in the head and 3 in the neck. The Prosecutor General's office reported that he was killed by a hunting rifle equipped with case shot. Mikhail Zheznevski was wounded in the heart by a bullet forceful enough to stop motor vehicles. It has since been reported that all weapons belong to the Ukrainian Ministry of Internal Affairs. The murders of Serhii Nihoian and Mikhail Zheznevski remain unresolved. From year to year, the Ukrainians continue to honor the memory of the heroes who fell during the Revolution of Dignity.